Hello, this is Pracalt and you're on my table? What is this? Dangpots ripoff? Today we're gonna be doing the long-awaited Q&A. I'm so sorry it took so long to upload this. I had a lot of exams, so I couldn't just drop off of university, you know. I'm not doing that. I'm not risking my life. So now that we figured out that I'm really at doing deadlines, we can finally do the question and answer thing, where I read your questions from the old community post and I answer them to you. Isn't that awesome? So the first question, what kind of aesthetic does your channel serve? I have no idea. Okay, you see, here's a little history about my channel. This was, well, nowadays, quote-unquote, old. It was an old channel that I just created out of nowhere. The profile picture of King Pink was just like the random picture I had on my, like, gallery, you know? And I was just uploading random it was like emulation tests and such, while the main channel, I mean, it wasn't really any better. I had no idea how to properly upload stuff. Then I was like, suddenly, you know what? Let's record some old shit from my old iPad, whatever. And, you know, it started to do numbers, and like I decided to go with that. Why not? So I don't know what aesthetic my channel right now gonna be. I'm probably at some point gonna change the profile picture, probably the name too, but as of right now it's just aesthetic of I have no idea, I'm just uploading random stuff. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. How much money did it cost for all the OG Apple products? iPad 2, I bought it in like 2022, I think. I got it for like 20-30 bucks. It probably costs more now because, you know, scalpers like to, oh, it's a retro iPad, guys. It definitely worth like 50 bucks. No, it doesn't. You can't even watch Netflix on it properly anymore. This thing does not deserve to cost this much, you know. I would only put it at like 30 bucks at most, you know. I would not put it at $50 price tag or more. It's ridiculous, you know. As for iPhone 5, I got a little scammed. I was planning to buy a 32GB version, but I got it for like 10 bucks. I was planning to get a 32GB version, but I got scammed and I got 16GB version. Not only that, it's also in a really bad condition. Hold on, let me get it real quick so you could see. There it is. It's not charged, but you will see what I'm talking about. So the screen, it's kind of loose, and I was wondering why was that the case, and I found out why. You see this? Hold on. You see this? Focus. You see, there's no screws in it. What the f? So not only this thing was an inferior model when I was planning to get like 32GB and load it up with games just like with an iPad, but it's also in like very weird state. I don't know how to call it, honestly. The screen is a little bit loose. The digitizer seems to be a little bit on loose too, which, you know, kind of sucks, honestly. But hey, at least it works. I managed to record like 2 videos with it. I'm probably gonna record more videos with it. The reason I got it was to play some old iOS games that require a much more powerful device than the iPad 2. Because there are some old games where you need a little bit more power, like Bioshock Mobile, for example. Disney Infinity only works properly with iPhone 5 and iPad 4 or better, you know. There are some bigger games that don't really work well on iPad 2 or straight up don't work at all. So yeah, I mean, it works for this purpose and for like recording purposes, like it's fine. But I was planning to use this thing portably and such, but yeah, this does not work well for that because of the issues I mentioned. So kind of sucks, but oh well. As for the MacBook, I got for like $50. It's a pretty cool device. I'm definitely gonna make a video on it, just you see. It is a really interesting device, especially for that price. So stay tuned, I guess. Where do you get those games? Well, that's a pretty common question I get on my channel. Well, I don't have a really specific source. I can download from literally around the internet. Could be very weird or something like that site. But usually my main sources is like archive.org, you know, MTMT sometimes have some cool stuff. Yeah, that's like the main sites I could think of, really. But it could be really from anywhere, honestly. That's why I don't really give a proper answer. It could be literally from anywhere. You can find IPAs from anywhere, anywhere. You know, there's also Vetaris, which is like a jailbreak app, app store quote unquote alternative where people like upload their IPAs and people use it to download, which is pretty convenient for casual people. But yeah, sometimes this app store also don't have some apps, so you have to like download from somewhere else. You know, there's just a lot of different sources. So if you want a proper answer, the proper answer is the internet. Just go search for it and you probably will find it or probably will not find it, you know? So yeah, that's all I have to say about this one. Apart from showcasing older games, do you plan on showing some new ones too? Well, I'm not really sure about this one, but what I can tell you for sure is that I want to expand a little bit. I want to do more stuff than just old iOS games. I will keep doing them, but I want to do something more, you know. I don't want to just record old iOS games, record. That can get exhausting if you do the same thing, and people can just get bored. I want to expand a little bit more. I want to do reviews. I want to do old macOS games. I want to do maybe even old Windows games, you know. I want to do even a lot of more like experiments and such, you know. And hopefully this year I'll manage to do that. But we will see. We will see. How many legacy devices do you have? Well, actually quite a lot. It's not just Apple stuff. Well, let's start. A MacBook 2010. I'm probably gonna make a video on it soon. iPad 2, which is the most common one you see. This is the device that you see me record from the most, but yeah. An iPhone 5, which we talk about. There are also quite a lot of Android devices I have. But they are all pretty weak, so I don't really record videos off of them. But the one notable I can tell you is the Samsung Galaxy 2. It runs Android 2.3. It's pretty cool, but again, it's pretty weak. I tried recording a video on this channel on it once. It was, I think, Angry Birds Light Beta 2. And if you're gonna open this video, you will see how bad this thing is. This thing barely handles recording. It's really bad. It's very glitchy. It's really bad. So I think you can see why I didn't exactly record Android games and just stuck with iOS. But that's not exactly only the reason, and we'll get to that in a sec. What has inspired you to make reviews of old apps and games, and why specifically iOS? Well, back then I liked playing a lot of old games, old mobile games, and you know, I remember quite a lot of stuff. I used Android at the time. You know, when I look nowadays where there's like not a lot of people talking about old mobile games in depth, that kind of make me very upset because there's clearly a giant library of games that is completely untouched. And you know, when when big reviewers talk about mobile games, they're usually like, "Oh yeah, that existed. That was pretty cool time," but they never really go in depth about it. You know, the most in-depth video I seen about the old mobile games was from Scott the Was, okay, and I think that already says something, but that doesn't even touch the grass of what there is available. As for why specifically iOS, well, I have a pretty good reason for that. That being, iOS is the best way to play old mobile games. And you may ask, what do you mean? Isn't Android like the best way to do it? You can just go ahead, sideload, and it will be done. Well, on iOS you have to do these jailbreaks, like you have to hack your device, install AppSync. Like, isn't that worse? Yes, but that's not why it's better. It's the fact that old iOS has way more games, and the games that did came out for both iOS and Android. iOS versions are usually better, they are packed with a little bit more features, or they are overall a bit more optimized, let's just say. Games back then were made for iOS and they were ported to Android, you know, it wasn't the opposite, or it wasn't where the game was made for both platforms. Game was made for iOS and then got ported to Android. And a lot of the times back then, there were a lot of games that came out for iOS first, and it took like months or sometimes years to get an Android port. Or sometimes it never even happened. It's just stuck on old iOS, and you know, nobody can play it because there's no proper old iOS emulator for this. So you know, it's wild how this was not. It's wild how nobody talks about this. How there's no proper old iOS emulator besides, like, you know, Touch HLE, but that can only play like 10 games. So it's cool that it exists, but it will never cover the library of billions of old iOS games that are only for old iOS, you know. So it really sucks, you know. Is the ISO file taking a while to download, considering it's old iOS, before making your videos? I'm not really sure what you're asking, but I'm gonna assume you're asking, is the app file taking a while to download from the old iOS device, you know, I'm downloading from old iPad like this one. So first of all, I don't download these games from the old iOS, and there's a good reason for that. Old iOS don't have a modern web browser, you know. I can't go to any like website I want. I can only go to websites that are properly optimized to work on old web browsers, which limits me a lot. Not only that, but the download speeds are slow on old iOS, and Safari doesn't even have a proper download manager, so you have to be on the app when the thing downloads, so you could open it in iFile or whatever. It's just not convenient, you know. The only convenient way to download old iOS games on the iPad is use something like Vitaris, but as I said before, it's not the best source for IPA games. It doesn't have everything. And also, what I forgot to mention, there are a lot of iCloud locked IPAs, which are basically IPAs, like the apps that are tied to someone else's Apple ID, and unless you have like their Apple ID, you can't exactly open the app, so it's pretty much useless. So what I do is just download IPA from computer, and then I just sideload it on the iPad because it's just faster. You know? It's just faster. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. What is your favorite ancient iOS game that you have uploaded to YouTube so far? Well, if I'm being honest, you would think that it's Charlie the Steak because, you know, it's the most popular game. I mean, it's fine, but it's not my favorite game. It's pretty cool, I guess, how this game is, you know, it looks like a normal, like, Talking Tom-like-ish game, but then becomes very bloody and such. But honestly, my favorite game that I have recorded on this iPad so far was GravBot. Hold on. It didn't really gain a lot of views. I did a full playthrough of it. But honestly, this game is really fun if it's gonna load, of course. So GravBot, this game is my favorite one so far because it's such a fun puzzle game. Honestly, it's very underrated. Nobody talks about it. It was kind of lost media, sorta. Basically, people managed to find iOS version of it, but couldn't find the Android version for like 7 years, and it was just found like few weeks ago, the Android version. This game is really fun, okay? It's about the robot that can like switch the gravity. You need to get these little tiny things, and it's just really fun. It kind of looks like a DS game when you think about it. This game is really fun, and you know, the levels, as you go further, the levels get more and more complex. It's just crazy how underrated this game is. If you have like old iOS device or you have Android device running Android 13 or older, please check it out. It's really fun in my opinion. It's just it's really addicting. It's crazy how underrated and unknown this game is. It's just really fun. So yeah, that one is my favorite game so far. Do you like to play Angry Birds Reloaded on your iPhone? Yeah man, I love playing Angry Birds Reloaded. It's such a fun little game. I love playing Angry Birds Reloaded, man. It's just so fun. The space levels are freaking awesome, man. I love playing Angry Birds Reloaded on my phone. It's just so awesome. Okay, seriously though, Angry Birds Reloaded is just It's just a rehashed Angry Birds levels from like Angry Birds Classic, Angry Birds Seasons, Angry Birds Space. I think the updated graphics look pretty cool, but it's just Rovio Classics Angry Birds if it was good. It's just a remake of the game that is for some reason stuck on Apple only devices, which you know, it really sucks that it's stuck on Apple only devices. If only you could play it on Android, it would be really awesome, but unfortunately it's stuck only for Apple devices, so. Okay, the last question in this Q&A. Why do you sound so Sigma? I'm done. So anyway, that was the Q&A. Thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. It's actually crazy how much 10k is crazy, really. How did we get so far in like 1 year? That's wild. And thank you so much for sticking when I did this little, okay, let's be honest, a fuck up where I said I was like gonna upload this for January, but I didn't because I did not think through that exams would be this big and this, you know, they would suck so much. But yeah, I hope I'll manage to do bigger, better content. I hope I'll manage to entertain you all this year. And yeah, it's a little bit late to say this now because this was supposed to be uploaded at first days of January, but Happy New Year, and I see you all on my iPad.